In the village of Ashwick, behind an old brick house, lay a graveyard built during the time of the Roman Empire. The cemetery was ancient, its headstones weathered and broken, many belonging to long-forgotten souls. The windows of the house opened directly toward this graveyard, where the eerie silence of the graves seemed ever present. Even the room of young Edward overlooked this forsaken land, where the night air carried the cold breath of the dead. It was nearly 2:30 in the morning. Edward sat at his desk, reading by the dim glow of a lantern. Restlessly he glanced out of the window. Not a soul stirred, only endless stillness stretched across the cemetery. The silence was unnatural. Birds fluttered about in sudden unease, and then, without warning, dogs began to howl and bark fiercely, as though they had caught something unusual. Troubled by the noise, Edward rose to shut the window. He had no idea that the sight awaiting him would haunt his very existence. As he reached the window, his eyes fell upon a woman. She wore a ragged, dirt-stained shawl, and the dogs circled her, growling as she drifted slowly into the graveyard. Against all reason, Edward stepped outside and followed. By the time he reached the gates, the woman had already disappeared among the tombstones. His mind told him it was madness to enter such a place at this hour, yet something deeper compelled him. He wandered inside until he found himself before her. There she stood, with her back facing him. Edward demanded to know who she was and why she lingered there at such an hour. A dreadful sound answered him, the snapping of bones. Without moving her body, the woman twisted her entire neck backwards. Her ghastly face stared straight at him, while her body remained facing the other way. Horror seized Edward. He turned and fled in blind panic. Reaching the graveyard gates, his foot struck a stone, sending him crashing to the ground. His head struck hard and he fell unconscious. At dawn, his father, Mr. William Black, discovered him lying senseless near the cemetery gate. He carried Edward home, and upon waking, the boy recounted the nightmare he had witnessed. From that day forth, his health withered. He was plagued by fits, tormented by visions of blood dripping from his chamber ceiling, and night after night, the woman returned to his dreams, leaving him too afraid to sleep. Days passed in torment, until one evening Edward emerged from his room. His clothes were stained, his arms bore deep scratches as though clawed by nails. His father rushed to him, but then a terrible sound echoed, the same snapping of bones. Edward twisted his neck in the same grotesque manner as the woman. His face turned toward his father, though his body still faced the opposite way. And in the very next moment, his lifeless body collapsed to the ground. From that day, Ashwick's graveyard gained a dreadful reputation. Villagers whispered of the boy who followed a woman among the graves and never returned. At night, his ghost was said to wander, still searching for her.